When I say German engineering, you think Porsche, Volkswagen, Audi, BMW. You might even think you're funny and say Rolls-Royce. Aside from motoring, you might think Siemens, Bosch, Adidas. But a name that won't spring to mind automatically is Vauxhall Insignia. And that's strange because these are designed in Germany, they're built in Germany, and when they roll off the production line in Rüsselsheim, they even have a German name. So why then are Vauxhall Insignia seen as beneath the other German saloons available in the eyes of German snobs? Well, that's what I've been trying to find out, because once again I bought a very cheap car and I put about 4,000 miles on the clock. So this is my extended test drive of the German Vauxhall Insignia. So my Insignia is a 2009 model, making it a first generation. So I am reviewing the first attempt at a Vauxhall Insignia. It's called the G09 if you want to be really nerdy, and straight off the bat, it's a very solid car. If you do the miles like I do, long motorway commutes, long dual carriageway commutes, it's a very solid car. It's big, it's heavy, and while that might not lend itself to performance, it is comfortable on long commutes. It's also relatively comfortable. It even has these extended little seat bits, and it's got quite a sound insulated cabin. It's not the quietest car I've ever been in, but in comparison to my girlfriend's Vauxhall Astra of the same year, it's much quieter in here than in hers. Maybe not as quiet as that, but pretty quiet. It's also very practical, something I'm going to demonstrate with my body. Now, according to Google, I am average height. I'm just between 5'10" and 11. I weigh about 84 kg, and now I'm going to climb into my own boot. Yes, what life decisions have I made to do this? Now, as you can see, I am above average flexibility by quite a way, but I can move all the way around in this thing. I had an Audi A3 front wing in this, and it didn't matter which way you put it in. Most boots you kind of have to figure out the best layout to put things in. This boot is so deep, it doesn't really matter. I was going to reintroduce the Big Mac test that I did on the Golf. I was going to load my 6'2", 18 stone father into the boot, but I assumed he probably wouldn't want to get out of bed on a Saturday morning at -4 degrees to be loaded into a Vauxhall Insignia boot. Though he would have done it for me because he is a hero, I thought I'm not going to ask. But the car is very practical. And I guess really that's no surprise. It's nearly 5 meters long and 3 meters wide, so it isn't a small car, but it makes the front very comfortable, it makes the back very comfortable. You can transport 5 adults in this very easily, and the boot is absolutely huge. I can't think of any other saloons that actually has a bigger boot and space in the cabin than the Vauxhall Insignia. Prepare yourself, we're going past a gritter lorry. The worst part about winter. Oh, God. That's one benefit of driving inexpensive cars. Even though it pains you, you're not as bothered as if you're driving something expensive. Whoa, 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 whoa. Brakes work, brakes work. So practicality aside, how does it perform? Well, I have to say I've been really impressed with it, but that is because I only do straight roads, foot down. Now I'm not saying I speed, but if you wanted to go past 70, you can cruise past 70, so I'm told, quite comfortably. Now on long journeys that's great. On short windy roads it does feel a bit like a bus. It's over 1.5 tons, it's not small, so I wouldn't call it impressive around the corners, but it's a 2-litre diesel. So I'm not sure you buy one of these with performance in mind. But if you do, be known, I've actually lost the back end in this car. This is a front wheel drive car. I know it's possible, but it took me by surprise. Of course I caught it because I'm an excellent driver, but just be warned that because the weight does slump from side to side, you can lose the back end in this thing. Which is genuinely amazing when you consider the 2-litre diesel that I'm driving only produces a meager 128 horsepower, which means the 0 to 60 takes many seconds. I've not timed it, but much time. They did, however, make a V6 version of this car. It's called the OPC, and it produced 321 brake horsepower, so way more than double the brake horsepower that I'm driving, and I imagine that made it a lot more fun. But you don't buy a diesel Insignia to have fun. You buy a diesel Insignia because your name is Nigel and you want to get the most out of your fuel when you fill the tank, or frankly you just don't have money to burn. And the important stats are, according to official figures, this will do up to 60 miles per gallon combined. I'm not sure in the real world if that's true, but I would say it's fairly close at a guess. I had a C3 and a Zorro Picasso before this, and they both do 70, 80 miles per gallon if you're going quite cautiously. I have got a heavy right foot and I've not noticed a massive hit on the wallet when I jumped into this car. So this is a very fuel efficient car. If you've not got money to burn, this is quite a good option. Or if your name's Nigel. I also don't think it's too hateful of a car to look at. There have been two facelifts, one in 2013 and one in 2017, and I think it's getting better and better looking. But as I say, I don't think the original Generation 1 is too hateful to look at. But should you buy one? Well, before we get into that, let's have a look at a few quirks. Now, I maintain owning a car really gives you a feel of a car, and extended test drives really are much better than short test drives because you get to know a few random quirks. For example, say you've left your laptop bag on the passenger seat and you need to lean back across and reach it. These seat extenders, great for comfort, but if you happen to kneel in the gap when the extension is out, you will find there is some sort of plastic dagger that will no doubt rip your patella tendon clean off. Very random quirk, but something I've noticed having owned the car for nearly 2 months. Another thing is the size of these pillars. Now, I don't think the wind deflectors on my example help, but front, middle and back, I think because of the coupe styling of the Saloon, it makes the blind spots very big. Now, I have a very mobile neck, but if you are slightly older, that might be a problem. The final quirk I've noticed having owned this car for 4 months, which I can't really show you because it's light, is the responsiveness of the beam. Now, in our country, I don't know about anywhere else, but in the UK, we choose to thank people who let us through by blinding them with our beam. Now, if you have bi-xenons or you have bi-xenons flashed at you, you know it's like, oh, you're welcome, thanks for blinding me. This has a slightly different problem. Normally when you pull a beam, it will kind of flash and then you can let go. The responsiveness of this beam is not very quick. It's almost as if the switch on and off has a slight delay. So I found that people are like, oh, thanks. Yeah, random quirks, but a problem nonetheless. But very specific quirks aside, should you buy one? Well, that depends. Remember, it's very large. So if you don't like big cars or you only have on-street parking, for example, it might be a bit problematic. But if you are looking for a spacious 5-seat saloon, massive boot, great on fuel, relatively comfortable, cheap to run, inexpensive, like the Citroen Zorro Picasso I just reviewed, at this point in time with fuel prices the way they are, this is not a bad option at all. And let's not forget, it's German engineering. I am about to sell this one, but let's ignore that for now. That's a great car. See you all next time. Cock end. What's a cock end?